And the pasuk in this Parsha, Economy Adam Mitecha, discussing the idea of kinyonim, which we'll learn many different halachas from. There is a sikha from there, a beautiful sikha, where the Rebbe discusses the idea of kinyon in regards to avodas Hashem. As it says that ani lo nivreisio l'shamish is koini, not as boiri, because the relationship between us and the Eibishter, avodas Hashem, is in a way of a kinyon, in the form of a kinyon. And there is, as we know, there is two different types of kinyonim. There is kinyon aguf and there is kinyon hares. Kinyon aguf, the way the Rebbe explains, is the avodah of a tzaddik, that his guf, his entire being, is given over to kedusha, is given over to the Eibishter. Whereas the avodah of a benoni is a kinyon hares. Kinyon hares is the avodah of a person whose guf might be still something that needs to be worked on. However, his machshava dibur ma'aseh, his hares, his levushim are fully dedicated and fully given over to the purpose of and to the kedusha. Based on that, l'chor comes a shayla that there is a halacha, as we know in the Gemara, that says an adam makne davar shelo yibal olam, a person cannot be makne something which is not yet in this world. And the Gemara basically says this is true in regards to kinyan hares. In other words, kinyan aguf, you basically makne something as is now. What is davar shelo yibal olam? Davar shelo yibal olam is kinyan hares. So if so, l'chura, one can say that a benoni cannot make a commitment for further actions. A benoni cannot be in a position to come and pledge himself and pledge his actions in the right direction, since a person ain't no domak the davar shelo yibal olam, and a benoni all he can do is kinyan hares, not kinyan aguf. However, the Gemara says that the solution for ain't no domak the davar shelo yibal olam is a person can be makne dekel leperoisav. It can be makne the goof of a tree for the peros which will grow later. And the Rebbe explains in avodah that means that a person is able to work on his midos, to make his midos a conduit for avodas Hashem. So even though it's not a permanent change, he still is in the darga of a benoni, he still has his struggles. However, he's able to, while he's actually still there, still in his matzav of benoni, to make himself a keli by changing his midos to kedusha. And we also see from the words of the Alter Rebbe that the benoni is a person shelo yavar v'lo yavar me'olam. How can you say that this is a momentary thing? Rather, in his being right now, he's actually working to make himself a conduit to kedusha completely and fully. This is furthermore stressed with the idea that the Rambam, when he says that Eino domak davar shelo bala olam, is only in regards to dinei idiotis, but when it comes to inyoni kedusha by hekdesh, this rule does not apply. And the idea is that by hekdesh, since your neshama is always committed to kedusha, is always part and involved in the right things, therefore a person is always able to bring on this the koyach of the neshama, the desire of the neshama, and make that a way to bring about in Yoni Kedusha. To conclude, there is a beautiful pshat that the Frierdiker brings in a sikha regarding the idea regarding a pshat in the Mishnah in Kiddushin. The Mishnah in Kiddushin says that Reshus Govoya Kesef, Reshus Hedyoit is Chazaka. And then the Mishnah concludes by Amirosoi le Gavoya Kenesinosoi le Hedit. And Chassidim, the Frierdiker Rebbe relates that one time when the Mittel Rebbe was a young boy, was about 10 years old, he was in the Beis HaMedrash. And Chassidim were learning Pshat in the Mishnah like this. They were saying, Reshus Gavoya Kesef. If a person wants to bring himself to Gavoya, he wants to bring himself into the Reshus of Gavoya, it has to be through Kesef, through Kisufim, through yearning to a higher Madrega, to a higher Kedusha. Reshus Hedyoit, if a person wants to take himself out of Reshus Hedyoit, then Chazaka, this has to come through Choizek, through Shtarkai, through fighting the Yetzer Hara and the negativity which is around. And with that they concluded. They turned to the Mittel Rebbe and they asked the Mittel Rebbe, what does he think about the Pshat? So he said, you ignored the last part of the Mishnah. The last part of the Mishnah is Amirosei legoveya kenesinosei lehedyot. And he gave Pshat as a 10-year-old, and he said that Alevai, our Amirosei legoveya, Alevai, our commitment, our pledges to Govoya, to Inyoni Kedusha, will be as good and as powerful and as effective as kenesinosei lehedyot, as our Ibergegebenkeit in Inyoni Hedyotis, the Inyoni mundane stuff in our life. And Basically, the idea is that a person should be able to bring on his avodas Hashem, his desire for Elokus, to be the same dedication as he has for Inyoni Olam Hazeh.